Former industrial areas. Walk 18, Shirebrook Wood. A large part of the once Shirebrook Colliery is now an industrial estate, and much of the land is now owned by SportsDirect.com, who have built their main UK distribution centre here. Their own security company looks after the majority of the land and industrial units. The remainder of the former colliery land is now Shirebrook Wood, a quite extensive country park managed by the Forestry Commission, who also manage Warsop Wood, Oxclose Wood and Plesley Park, also in the area, as well as Silverhill Wood, a few miles away and nearer to my most humble abode at Stanton Hill. Wednesday the 18th of January 2012, and it's already 2 PM, but I fancy another wander around some former industrial site. So I've made my decision, and although there's not much time left before dark, I'm going off with no names to do a little exploring around Shirebrook Wood. Soon I'm parking the Trekmobile in the Shirebrook Wood car park at the side of Longster Lane. Out we get, and off we trot. To be fair, I'm not really expecting much, as I'm more than aware of the reputation this area has had in the past, so I'm expecting an immature and somewhat rubbish-strewn heap of waste ground that needs lots of attention. So imagine my surprise and delight to find that the area is nothing like what I'd been expecting, and is quite the opposite. Might be more interesting than I thought. What we find instead is a large country park type area with well surfaced multi-use paths, pleasant grassland and woodland, and nothing like a rubbish strewn heap of waste ground at all. In fact, rubbish appears to be the one thing that Shirebrook Wood is short of. But of course, that's actually a good thing. First I notice a large pond to my left, on which there is a number of water birds and a few fishermen dotted around the pond. As we ascend the well-surfaced path up the gradual slope in front of us, we pass another 5 ponds of varying sizes, though none as large as the first, but all sporting decent areas of reed bed, which no doubt will support a number of nesting birds in the spring. A few carefully placed picnic benches are laid out close to the lower ponds looking over them. Good place for a quiet picnic one day. On reaching what is effectively the high point of this particular path before it turns right to ascend a little more, I can't help but notice the density of the woodlands ahead of us and to our left. But as time is limited, No Names and I don't have time to go off on any woodland explorations today, or we'll never get back to the car park before dusk. So we'll have to do it some other time. We happen upon a Forestry Commission ranger who is doing a routine inspection of the site, and I soon embark into a lengthy educational conversation with him about the area and the other woods nearby that he has to include on his rounds. Eventually we bid our farewells, and No Names, who by now has got fed up of waiting and has opted for one of his mental dog runaround routines to keep himself occupied while he waits for me to finish chin-wagging. Anyway, we turn right with the path and continue onwards. Shirebrook Wood is certainly living up to its name, because although there are plenty of large grassland areas, the bulk of the site is woodland, with both mature woods and new younger plantations over the whole site. Soon we've reached the top, and the path begins a descent down towards what appears to be a railway viaduct in the distance, and as we are getting closer it is confirmed. The viaduct carries the main Robin Hood line from Worksop to Nottingham, and we are less than a third of a mile from Shirebrook railway station on the line. There are a few squeeze stars around here, obviously taking the wanderer off to other locations. Meanwhile, on the top of the hill to our left is some sort of industrial unit, and between us and the viaduct is a green painted metal footbridge over the stream. We're heading off over this footbridge towards the viaduct to see what's on the other side. No Names has no fear whatsoever where bridges of any sort are concerned, unlike some dogs who seem to fear them and have to be forced to go over them, and he gladly scampers off over the bridge without a care in the world, closely followed by yours truly. I wander onto the bridge and can feel the whole construction vibrating and shaking as I tramp. A strange sensation, and I stop in the centre to take a look around, but can sense the up and down shaking motion still going on whilst the construction settles. Not much chance of taking any decent photos on here then, because although the built-in anti-shake of my camera can deal quite efficiently with my own body movement, I doubt if it will be able to deal successfully with both the movement of the bridge and mine at the same time. Of course, as soon as I move, the bridge moves also. Strange sensation. Straight after passing under the viaduct, and effectively no longer within the Shirebrook Wood boundary, I suddenly become aware of exactly where I am, and recognise the area and streets of Shirebrook laid out before me. The industrial unit mentioned before has proven to be the Sports Direct outlet shop and distribution centre. I'll be at the back of it, so that's why I didn't recognise it earlier. But normally it's a place I'm most familiar with, as it is always my first port of call when looking to shop for new clothing and footwear. No need to go further, as I know where I am and what's here, so it's about turn and head back over Shaky Bridge, as I've now christened it, and back into Shirebrook Wood. We are continuing on around the main path within the site, as it again climbs steadily uphill, and are passing once again through grasslands bordered by woodland on our right, but open to our left. A few paths go off to our right up to what is possibly the highest point on the site. But as the sun is beginning its descent, I've chosen to leave that until next time, and stick to the main path back to the car park. The path curves to the right, and suddenly a whole new view is set out before us. This is the area to the right as you walk out of the car park, for which I only offered a brief glimpse when first arriving earlier, as my plan was to go ahead first and return from this direction in a type of circular route around the site, and of course that is exactly what I've been doing. The remainder of the main path descends from here a few hundred yards to the right of the brook, back down towards the car park and start of our walk. Soon another path goes off to our left, before crossing another green coloured metal footbridge to exit the site onto Longster Lane, about a quarter of a mile to the north of the car park entrance. However, I want to see if this bridge is as shaky as the previous one. It is, and is now given the obscure trail trekking title of Shaky Bridge 2, as I've now renamed the previous one Shaky Bridge 1. Very imaginative titles, don't you think? As I have a fondness for waterways of any kind, I've opted for foregoing the main path and instead following the course of the brook back to the trekkermobile. Not only that, but I've spotted in the distance a swan on the water a little below, where the brook widens to create yet another pond with supportive reed beds. A few photographs of the brook and Shaky Bridge 2 before No Names and I wander off along the bank of the brook to our eventual destination for today's stroll. Well, this is proving to be a big mistake, as not only can we not walk along the bank for very far, but within a minute my height has increased by about 2 inches, due to the very sticky red clay along the bank collecting on the soles of my boots, which have now become about a pound heavier than they were when I started. What's more, it's also quite slippery around here, and I'm running the risk of slipping and landing up with my backside in the water, or worse. Amusing it would be without a doubt, but hardly advisable in January. Summer, no problem, I'd just laugh it off. No Names' white socks are now two-tone, with a nice autumn red on the bottom halves due to the clay. Change of plan. So I've decided on a sod it, and we climb back up off the slippery bank and onto the main path once again. Well, now this is much easier going, and although I ventured off the path slightly to try and get closer to the swan, I've not been close enough when zooming in with the camera to get a decent picture. Although I always carry my compact Vivitar digital camera, this was my first time out with the Nikon Coolpix 7600, as well as the Vivitar as an additional camera to use on my travels. Given to me by my editor, as he had bought a newer and more upmarket model, and as such I was still getting used to its functions. I later learned how to get more zoom out of it. Soon our wander has come to an end, as we once again find ourselves looking up on the car park. But hold on a minute, I've spotted something that might prove to be quite fruitful. A swan is stood on the bank about 25 yards from the water. Better approach quietly and see if I can get close enough for a few good photos. Yeah, right. Every time I try, No Names goes running close by and startles the swan. And although No Names never has any desire to annoy other animals he sees, apart from other dogs that he always likes to play with, the swan has other ideas, and promptly hisses threateningly at No Names every time he goes within a few yards. Well, there's only one answer for this, and I've opted for tying No Names on his lead to some nearby railings while I attempt to get the photos. Well, it has proven to be most successful, as not only have I managed a few good shots of the swan, and a few other swans, well, I say good shots, but when I look back at them now, they're actually not that good at all when compared to the swan photos I'm getting these days. A little more experience has certainly helped. I've also managed to shoot some video of the swans on my mini camcorder, another capture device I always carry when out walking. So it's proving to be quite a successful day after all. The daylight is almost gone, so shooting photos or videos any longer would be a wasted effort. So I've finally released No Names from the confines of his lead and the railings, and he makes the most of his new freedom to run riot for a while. And of course, I allow him this eccentricity for 5 minutes or so before hutching him back up into the Trekkmobile for our 15 to 20 minute drive home to our cups of tea. Verdict: Shirebrook Wood is actually rather nice. Very peaceful and much better and more mature than I expected it to be. I would certainly recommend it to anyone who fancies a pleasant country stroll with or without their family. A rather appealing country park in the ever-expanding offerings from the Forestry Commission.